Hi everyone, this is Bo from Boda Fitness, and we are looking today at the best meals to eat for rapid fat loss. If you're following along in our challenge checklist, this is task 9. So now what we're looking at today is actually taking some of those foods that we looked at in our previous video and now combining them into creative meals that are going to be really effective at promoting fat loss. So in order to understand why these foods work so properly and so great for fat loss, I want to point out a couple of things about why we've selected these kinds of foods and then why we've combined them in the way that we have. All right, so think about it. When you're trying to lose body fat, there are a couple of key elements that are absolutely vital, that are even more important than some of the other things that you oftentimes hear people emphasizing that are just going to be lower on the totem pole. So, you hear people talk about low insulin and low glycemic and high, high fiber, high protein. These are all great things, but there are a couple other things that are higher up on the totem pole that we got to really address first. The most important factor is sustainability, and that means that, in other words, if you can't stick to the diet, if you can't follow it for life, then who cares how great it is at helping you lose weight, right? So we need to make sure, first and foremost, that whatever way of eating that we're implementing, that we're going to be able to stick with it for the long term, right? So it needs to be sustainable. And there are going to be some components of sustainability that are really vital that we know about when we're creating these meals so that we can make sure it's actually going to work and we're going to be able to stick to it. And I'll talk more about that in a second. The second element that relates to sustainability as well is that we do got to create a calorie deficit. We have to figure out how to eat less. Well, we want to eat quality foods that provide all the nutrients we need, but we need to figure out how to eat less. The main reason we have excess weight is we eat too much and we don't get enough physical activity, right? So if we eat too much, which we know the data shows over and over again, you got extra weight, it isn't because you eat too little, it's because you're eating too much. And so we got to figure out how to eat less sustainably, right? How do you eat less sustainably? Well, the only way we're going to really know how to do that is we got to figure out, why do we overeat? And we've talked about this in other videos, and we'll look at it in others as well. We're going to see that it primarily the root issue of why we overeat is because we eat the wrong foods, and they promote inflammation, and inflammation messes with our brain's ability to regulate our appetite properly. So we're going to talk about it in a whole nother video on leptin and leptin resistance. But today we're going to be focusing on how to make our diet sustainable by choosing the right kinds of foods and combining them in these, making these yummy meals. So we want some keys to sustainability when we create our meals is we need meals that promote satiety and satiation. This idea of feeling full when we're eating. So when we're eating breakfast or let's say meal A versus meal B, that something helps to get us to put that fork down. So we feel full while we're eating that meal before we eat too much. So that is, the type, there's a difference between satiety and satiation. One is referring to the effects of a meal on stopping that meal. And another is referring to the time between meals. So I eat a meal, let's say meal A, what keeps me, what holds me over between meal A and meal B? So these are two different things. And so we want to have foods that are going to make us stop eating in the meal that we're consuming right in that moment, so we don't eat too much. And then we want foods that are going to hold us over so that we can go longer between meals without feeling hungry again, right? Because if we're eating something that just makes us hungry 5 minutes later, then we're in trouble again, right? It leads to the constant snacking throughout the day, and then now we're eating too much. So we want to consider that when we look at these different foods and meals that we create. Hormone regulation. We got to make sure that the meals we're eating are not screwing up our hormones, that we're getting things balanced out, that we're not producing too much insulin, and we're producing the right kinds of hormones that help with promoting and not just hormones, but other chemicals that help promote satiety. Certain foods are going to cause our body and our brain to produce chemicals that actually make us feel full and satisfied. Low addiction, we've talked about that in one of our other videos. We looked at, these high addiction foods that were, reported, and we want to stay away from those because those are obviously going to make us overeat. Affordable, a big part of a sustainable diet is that they're not super expensive foods, but they're, we can afford them. They taste good, and it's an enjoyable diet to follow. Because again, who cares how great it works, but if you always hate what you eat and you never enjoy yourself, then again, it's not sustainable. We want it to be convenient. We need to factor in this important element that, when we have to make a lot of prep time for things, when it takes a long time to make these elaborate recipes, that, some people like to do that, but a lot of people, it's just like, I don't got time to be making these elaborate recipes because I just got other things I got to do. So we want to figure out how to make meals that are going to be healthy and promote fat loss, but that are quick and easy to eat on the go. So we need to incorporate an element of convenience into our meal plan. We gotta be thinking ahead and say, I need to make sure that at least one or two of my meals is something I can eat just on the go, but it's still gonna, hit all the points that we want to help promote that, the other benefits, the satiety and hormone regulation and so on. Flexibility, we gotta incorporate flexibility. Another reason many people don't stick to their meal plan is it's just too inflexible. It's too rigid. Gotta eat this exact food and they just get sick of it. So we need to be able to incorporate and say, hey, every once in a while, if I wanna have an ice cream cone or I wanna have a slice of pizza, that I can work that into my meal plan rather than thinking every time I do that, I just screwed the whole thing up, so I might as well give up. Let's incorporate it into our meal plan so that we can still enjoy ourselves and have those treats once in a while. Healthy, no-brainer here. As Dr. Michael Greger puts it, he says, the goal of a diet is not to get a skinnier casket, right? So again, we don't want to choose a diet that works great at, helping us lose weight, but it promotes, cancer or diabetes, right? We want to make sure the diet is healthy and that's sustainable long-term. So these are just some, not necessarily a comprehensive list, but some of the elements that make up a sustainable diet. And this is what we really are trying to go for when we create these kinds of meals. Now, when I say kinds, I say 5 kinds in quotations there. We're talking about 5 kinds of meals that we want to try to be focusing on in our day. And if you see me waving my hands around, it's just because there's some flies out here. So as we go through these kinds of meals, this is kind of a template that we want to follow each day when you're preparing your meals at home, so that you can have this template to follow with the meals that you're preparing. So real quickly, we have the prepared or prepackaged meal. I'm going to talk more about these in a second. We have what we call the green meal, the repeat meal, notice that's twice because it's a repeat meal, and the flex meal, short for flexibility. So let's talk about each one of these meals, and then we'll look over here and see how we combine these foods to start creating these kinds of meals, right? So now, a couple of things in this template we're going to see is that every single meal, we want to try to have protein and fibrous vegetables and or fiber. We want to have fiber, protein, fiber, protein, fiber, protein, fiber, protein. We want to try to incorporate that at every meal. Why? Because these are 2 foods that are going to fill us up the most, promote satiety, and balance out our hormones. Not to mention, they're going to promote our health and the health of our gut, our microbiome, lower inflammation. So we got to make sure we're getting those things in throughout the day. Now, the earlier we consume those meals in the day, the more they're going to have effects at suppressing appetite later in the day. So remember, a lot of these foods, they take time to break down and to reach the gut and to produce chemicals that later, evening time are helping us to not overeat. So, you got a lot of people sometimes who they skip meals all through the early part of the day because they just think, I'm just going to eat less. But they don't realize that a lot of times the types of foods they're consuming, if they consume them early in the day, the right kinds of foods, they're actually going to help them to eat less later at night. So now, these meals do not need to be eaten in any particular order. You could flip-flop, and again, one of the elements of flexibility is it allows you to kind of eat these, any way you want. You can change it from day to day, but you're going to find that it's, you tend to get a routine as to where and how you prepare and consume these meals as you go through the day. So our prepared prepackaged meal is just like it sounds. We want at least one of our meals every day to be something that is already either we've prepared in advance or we've bought it prepared already. So, for example, protein bar, meal replacement shake, a frozen meal that one that you like from the store that you just have to pop in the microwave or warm up. It's something quick and easy that you can eat on the go. And everyone's going to want to pick different meal that will work for them. Some teachers will say, if I can't stop to eat a meal, but if I have a shaker bottle on my desk, I can drink that. So there's no reason you couldn't put a complete meal, a meal replacement shake, in your shaker bottle and drink that during the time that you are working, so you still get your meal in. And that meal replacement is going to be high protein, high fiber, and there are some great shakes out there that we could get. I happen to like the company Garden of Life, and they have a product called Raw Meal, and you put a couple scoops of this in with some almond milk, and if you want to put in some frozen fruit or something like that and make or some greens and make like a green smoothie shake, that could be a great meal to go with there. Protein bar, got our protein. We want ideally a protein bar that's high fiber and high protein. And then we can oftentimes have with it a serving of fruit and or some vegetables. So you might have like a chocolate protein bar with a banana and maybe some baby carrots, right? So you got a little template of this, easy to go, quick, convenient protein fiber meal that you can eat on the go. So that's one of our meals for the day. And it doesn't really matter which meal it is, one of the 5, right? Now you notice there are 5 meals on the template here. You don't necessarily have to eat all 5 every single day. That you'll notice that when you get to the repeat meal, some people eat half of that meal, they put the other half in the fridge, and then they just aren't hungry later, so they end up eating it the next day, and their total for the day ends up only being 4 meals. That's okay. Some days it might even be 3 meals. We'll come to that in a second. The green meal. The green meal, Dr. Joel Fuhrman, I stole this one from him because he says make the salad the biggest meal of the day. Every day we want one big fibrous salad-like meal. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a salad, but it could be, a green smoothie. It could be a big wrap with a lot of baby carrot, shredded carrots, cranberries, maybe like a little bit of a protein of your choice, whether it be chicken or plant-based, maybe some feta cheese, a little light dressing, and you make like a big low-carb wrap just jammed with full of vegetables and some protein, and maybe some sliced peppers, onions, whatever. But remember, we want the brunt of it coming from vegetables. We're not talking like a breaded sub with like a little bit of iceberg lettuce on it. We're talking like a big vegetable meal. And in that vegetable meal, remember to add your protein. So you see some flexibility here in that you don't have to have a salad every day. Some days you might have a wrap, some days you might have a green smoothie, some days it's a salad, right? But you get a little variety, and you can change up the flavors and varieties of these things. I mean, I, for example, have probably 15 to 20 different green smoothies, so there's lots of different flavors that all incorporate greens and protein to give us a good meal for that second meal of the template. The repeat meal, we touched on a little bit, but the repeat meal is just like it sounds. It's a meal that you actually have twice in a day. We don't need to eat 5 different meals every single day. There's advantages to just eating the same thing again later in the day. One advantage is that it's less prep, right? If I make one meal and I eat half of it now, and then I just throw the other half in the fridge and then eat the other half later, I don't have to prepare 5 meals. I'm actually only preparing 4 meals. Technically, I'm not even preparing 4 because one of them was already prepared for me, right? I just had to eat it. So the repeat meal are great to prepare in advance on like a Sunday, and you cook up a bunch of, really yummy meals that can be frozen. And I like to put 2 servings per container so that when I eat that, it's less storage in the freezer, but then I can open it up, I can eat half of it, and if I'm really hungry, I can eat the whole thing. So now I've had 2 meals in one, which gives me a total of 4 meals for the day. So if some days you get to where you're like, wow, I'm just really, really hungry right now, I want to eat, this whole portion, that's fine. Eat the whole portion. And again, another advantage of it is that you still have, 2/5 of your calories in that meal. It's already all kind of predetermined for you. When you're creating these meals, and we talked about macros and stuff in our other videos, we're really trying to create the template for these meals and saving these recipes in MyFitnessPal so they meet our personal protein, fat, carbohydrate requirements, and then saving them so that now in the future, every time we make them the same way so that we know we got our macros right where we want them. The flex meal. The flex meal is what it means is literally flexibility. So it means that one meal a day is it could be a special treat. It could be it could just be another one of these meals up here. It could be a green smoothie. It could be a protein bar and fruit again. But it's, usually like a reward meal. And it's, again, we want to keep that reward meal in our boundaries. We want to make sure that we're not exceeding our calories and stuff for the day. But we're not going to necessarily worry about our macros that much, other than we still want to make sure we have fiber and protein with that meal. So now let's say, for example, I want to have an ice cream cone. So what would I have with my ice cream cone to make sure I get my fiber and protein? Real easy. In a shaker bottle, put a scoop of, let's say, orange flavored psyllium powder and a scoop of raspberry lemonade essential amino acids. Shake it up. I have what tastes like an orange lemonade drink. That's one option. I could make a protein shake with a little fiber. You could have a little something else that you like, protein food, whether it be animal food or plant-based option along with your flex meal. But there's no reason your flex meal can't just be a 5th healthy meal of the day that's something that's really good that you enjoy, right? It could be that your flex meal is, again, just another one of these frozen prepared meals. Or it may be you get to meal 4, you get to the evening and you're like, I'm just not hungry. I ate 4 meals, I'm full, I'm satisfied, I don't need those extra calories. You go to bed without it, you've created an even greater calorie deficit, and that equals more weight loss, right? So the template doesn't mean that every single day you gotta eat 5 meals. It means that we're aiming for 5, and we're splitting up those calories evenly so that we don't end up overeating too early in the day, but allowing ourselves that flexibility to occasionally have a treat or a reward. Bear in mind, we're going to keep it, protein and fiber in that meal. Remember to consume the protein and fiber prior to your flex meal, because that's going to help us to feel full and we're less likely to overeat. So if I eat an ice cream cone and then I go to eat my my protein and fiber, it's likely I've already had 2 or 3 ice cream cones, right? Because I'm not going to be full on one ice cream cone, unless it's a giant ice cream cone, right? So what I'm going to do is, if I'm going to the ice cream place, I want to have my fiber protein drink before the ice cream, so that I'm already starting to feel full as I'm eating my ice cream, right? And that's going to help us there a little bit. Now, when it comes to creating these meals, what we want to do is we want to take from the foods that we've talked about in our previous videos that are our really great weight loss foods, and we want to combine them in fiber, protein, tiny bits of fat in each meal, so that we have a really good healthy meal that's very satisfying and tastes good. So what we do is we look in, just to give you some examples here, I created these columns of proteins, vegetables, healthy fats, starchy foods, and then our spices and seasonings that we can add to these meals to give them flavor. This isn't a completely comprehensive list, because there's no way I could write all those foods on the board, but I wanted to select some of the good ones that you could, just to give you an idea what that would look like. So let's say we look at our prepared per package meal, and we come over here and we look at, our proteins, and we'd say, what could we do there? Well, we got, one of our proteins could be, protein powder, or it could be a protein bar, right? And that could be our protein source. And then with it, we have from our vegetable and or our fruit column, we can do any kinds of fresh fruits like apple, banana, something like that. Or we could do some baby carrots, maybe some sliced cucumber, something that goes along with that protein bar. It could be a shake. And with that shake, I mentioned the raw meal, but I could throw in some frozen spinach or fresh spinach, maybe some frozen raspberries, blackberries, or frozen banana in my smoothie. And I've got my protein already in there, and I got a great meal replacement shake. Go to my green meal, and it's a salad. So obviously with a salad, you want to get any vegetables you can in there. Go with like shredded cabbage, carrot, lettuce, onions, peppers, maybe a little bit of dried fruit, like maybe a few dried cranberries. You could even throw a little bit of maybe some sprouted or raw sunflower seeds on there. And then a healthy dressing. And the dressing should be made from a combination of our healthy fats and some of our spices and seasonings. So we could throw, for example, in the blender, we could throw in a little bit of avocado, some vinegar, maybe some mustard, and some spices, and we could create a healthy salad dressing that is a whole food fat rather than oils. Notice that on our fats, we don't list any oils other than fish oil and algae oil, which we're talking about in more of a supplement form for those omega-3s. You could also get those from eating fish. If you are doing salad dressings, just try to go for the light dressings. Watch out for all the added oil, because that's going to really hike up the calories. And try to add your fats in a whole food form. So for example, if you're doing a dressing, go with like a low fat dressing, but slice up a few slivers of avocado or some raw nuts and seeds and grind them up, or if they're seeds, and if they're nuts, just crumble them up or your salad. So you're getting the flavor of fat in your salad, and it's helping increase the absorption of those fat soluble vitamins, but you're not adding a ton of calories from these oils that are not only not great for our health, but oftentimes are very rancid. So with our repeat meal, great repeat meals are like a combination of, we might take a starch like a sweet potato, and then we'll cook up, an animal food, let's say, or a plant protein. So it could be, bison or turkey or chicken or tofu or something like that, with some spices and seasoning over here. And you could do like garlic and onion, or, whatever types of spices you want to put with that, and maybe in a skillet, and you kind of like stir fry that up. With our vegetables, don't forget, we want to get a lot of non-starchy vegetables, like maybe like a stir-fry type meal. So we could have some like broccoli, cauliflower, some carrots, beans, peas, corn, carrots. These things are great to throw in a lot of volume, a lot of fiber, and you can take these meals with your protein and vegetables and you can pop them in little containers, pop on a lid, put them in the freezer. Now all you gotta do is warm them up and you got a really yummy meal. I like to use things like fat-free stir-fry sauce to make like a stir-fry type meal. I like to boil up sweet potatoes, purple or orange sweet potatoes, and then I'll cut them in half and put one in each container. Your protein sources, you could get, if you're doing animal foods, you could get like a rotisserie chicken or something that's already pre-cooked. So all you gotta do is just cut it up and pop a little bit in each container. Or if you're doing plant-based, you get like some seasoned tempeh or tofu and put that in each container, so you can do like a vegan or vegetarian option. And put those in each of your bowls. So now you have all these containers that are really yummy, filling, seasoned meals that are going to be real yummy. Finally, flex meal. We already touched on the flex meal, so I don't want to go into that in too much detail. But remember, with our flex meal, we're putting in things like the protein and fiber along with whatever that small serving of that special treat is, or we're just going to do another healthy protein fiber meal. So some other ideas for healthy meals, things to think about. Chili, make a high protein, high fiber chili. I mean, just by adding beans, you already jumped the protein and fiber. So you got a great chili base there. Just try to watch out for a lot of fatty things in the chili. Soups, low fat, high protein soups are great. So your vegetables, throw in a little potato, chicken, or veggie option. Soups are some of the most filling foods that are just great things for weight loss. Little treats that you can do in your meals, like say you want to have a flex meal, but you don't want it to be an unhealthy flex meal. Make healthy substitutions of things you want. You can make homemade ice cream, homemade pizza, homemade burritos, homemade, you can do like a Jell-O and add in some essential amino acid powder, and you can make high protein Jell-O cubes that are really yummy to eat. So many options out there for making really delicious flex meals that you don't need to eat all the junk to feel like you have to enjoy your food. So when under seasonings and spices, just some things, if you can't see it on your camera there, we have salt, ketchup, mustard, salsa, hot sauce, garlic powder, onion powder, vinegar, spices, ginger, light mayo, guacamole, salad dressings. Under our proteins, we had egg white, tofu, tempeh, chicken breast, turkey, venison, bison, protein powder, EAAs, fish. Those are some examples of some proteins if you're choosing lean sources. Non-starchy vegetables, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, lettuce, carrots, onions, beans, squash, pumpkin, peppers, and so on. Our healthy fats, almonds, walnuts, flax seeds, chia seeds, fish oil, algae oil, avocado, healthy raw dressings, homemade dressings, guacamole. Starchy foods, potatoes, dark rice, like purple rice, emperor's rice, sweet potatoes, whole grain pastas, oatmeal, oat bran, peas, corn. These are all great starchy foods that are very filling, very satisfying, high fiber foods that are great for you as well. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of an idea of our template, and you want to begin to start to take those foods that we've talked about before and begin to create recipes that are customized to your macros, and this will get you set up with starting your meals. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video.